College basketball right around the bend. This guy was in the Final Four last year, and now he is back in television. He is Bruce Pearl. He joins us on the Loud Security Systems Newsmaker line here on The Fan. Coach, always great to have you on the program. How you doing this afternoon?
Oh, man, guys, it's great to be with you, and look forward to maybe heading over to Atlanta and work with you guys a little bit more often.
Yeah, doing some work for those that don't know. You're with TBS now doing some college basketball work, are you not?
I am, yeah. Really excited about the opportunity at Turner. They, as you guys know, they know how to do those shows, those the professional basketball inside the NBA. What they created with Shaq and Kenny and Charles and Ernie. That won't be duplicated, but they know how to do those pregame, halftime, and postgame shows. And I'm hoping that with Adam Levko leading the way, talent like Jalen Rose and Jamal Mashburn, myself, we could bring it and have people tuning in.
Hey, Bruce, give me if you can, a time frame of, I'm thinking about maybe I'm done. How many nights, weeks, months, hours, how many times do you have to go to bed maybe with that thought to finally get up the day you did to say it out loud?
It really didn't start till after the season was over last year. I really wasn't thinking about it at all during the season. I just don't have really time to think about it. A couple things took place. One, we lost 9 seniors, so we had a complete rebuild. But as you look around the country with the combination of the transfer portal and NIL combined, it's free agency after the season for everybody, so everybody's rebuilding their rosters. And, we used to work hopefully through March, and this past year we even got to work a little bit in April, and then normally you spend a couple of weeks maybe rebuilding the roster, and then you have some time off in the spring. Well, we weren't able to stop recruiting until halfway through June, and next thing you know, the guys are on campus at the beginning of June. We're practicing all summer long, and there just really wasn't much time to come up for air. The other thing that happened to me was I did think about running for United States Senate. For whatever reason, there was a lot that went into it. Tommy Tuberville made the announcement in the spring that he was not going to run for Senate again. The office was going to be open. If you guys follow me on Twitter, I'm pretty active in policies involving faith and family and education, my advocacy for Israel and U.S. having strong relations in the battle against anti-Semitism. I had to think about not coaching if I was going to run for Senate. And that was what sort of opened up the door. And the last thing was as the basketball coach at Auburn, you got to wake up every single morning thinking about how am I going to beat Alabama, how am I going to beat Kentucky, how am I going to beat Florida. And that was not what was happening to me at age 65 and a half, 66. There were other things, including a little bit my own family. I said, you know what? I just don't know that I can give this 11 and a half months a year. And so that's why I decided to do something else.
I'm sure you heard some of the backlash, the timing of it, your son Steven getting the job at Auburn. How did you respond to some of that?
Well, it's really easy in the sense that Steven's been with me his whole life, right? But he's been with me 11 years here. Mike Burgermaster, my offensive coordinator, been with me 9 years. Ira Bowman, my top assistant, 9 years. Maddox Jeffries, my director of basketball operations, 10 years. Ian Borders, my assistant coach, 8 years. In other words, this is a staff that has won 5 SEC championships in the last 8 years, gone to 2 Final Fours. Okay? I think this staff deserved to have the opportunity to continue to coach this basketball team. That was my feeling. And so I suppose I could have coached the rest of the year. I had taken us through practice until September. But honestly, it wasn't in my heart. I knew it was going to be inevitable. And so, obviously Auburn's options were limited if I going to stop in September, which then put my son and this staff in a position where they were going to get the strongest of all possible looks.
So how much, you mentioned NIL and the transfer portal, how much at a certain point does not the re-recruiting, trying to keep kids here, hey, Johnny, we love you, you just didn't get enough minutes tonight, but I promise you we still love you, all of that stuff that goes on, it almost feels like it's forced for somebody who really wants it to feel familial. you're almost sort of buying family at that point. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if I was doing it as long as you were, that would be a turnoff for me.
You know, some guys, you both played for really good coaches that made a connection, but they also had a boundary, and they had a boundary. I'm a coach that has no boundaries. I want to be their father. I want to be sometimes their friend. I want to be their coach, their teacher, their rabbi, their minister. I want to be connected to their life. And so you're right. The fact that now it's becoming more transactional and less ministerial, the number of years that guys are staying because of being able to get re-recruited every single year are far less. I don't fall in love in a year. I don't throw the word love around easily. I don't. It's something that over a period of time you grow from getting to know one another, to become fond of one another, to go through some crap together, adversity revealing some different things, and then you know what? You fall in love. Falling in love takes some time sometimes. It's not always, instantaneous. And so, yeah, that definitely was a part of it. Look, we've graduated 51 guys in the last 11 years, okay? I've graduated 35, I think, African-American men in 11 years. I don't think anybody, not to compare, but there aren't many schools in the country that can say that. And so, like last year's roster, almost all those kids graduated. They didn't transfer. And this is part of why I love coaching. If that wasn't it, I'd have gone to the NBA. I would absolutely have gone to the NBA years ago. Got paid way more money, not having to worry about alumni and NIL and raising money and recruiting, all that stuff, and work 9 months, 8 months a year. But it's the other stuff, pouring into young men. That was what made it so much more special.
Bruce Pearl with us on the Loud Security Systems Newsmaker line. You kind of mentioned it earlier in the conversation, but it seems like the goalposts are forever moving, especially in the sport of college basketball. Guys like Tom Izzo, who've been around it a long time, are losing their minds.
Yeah, look. I navigated the NIL era. We navigated it pretty well, but yeah, it's different. So you got to adjust. When the rules change, you've got to be able to change. When the rules change, and we did that. That doesn't mean we have to like it. Doesn't mean you have to like it. And yeah, he's losing his mind. Look, guys, the product on the court. Let's just say that for 1 second. The product on the court is unbelievable. The quality of college basketball right now is unbelievable. The talent level is better because guys have stayed. We have an influx of some foreign players. This freshman class could be the best and deepest at the top we've ever seen. I think just what happened to college football, where Penn State, Clemson, and Texas are all in the top five, okay? There's going to be movement out of the top five. There will be teams that are outside the top 20 right now in college basketball preseason that we're going to get into the top 10 because of the NIL and transfer portal. We don't know who they are all now. We have an idea who some of them are, but and listen, yes, the stuff off the court, it's different. It's changed. We don't like it as much. Wish kids could be there longer, but the product on the court, never been better.
But the problem is, and I grew up in the 80s, Big East, and I knew, and I don't want to wax poetic, but when I knew the roster, I knew the roster. And there's a chance that guy's a senior, he's going to leave, but the other guys will be back, and there'll be one more guy with a different name. I'm not as related. I can't relate to the college basketball scene, game in, game out, year in, year out, the way that I used to. And I'm not trying to be the old guy on the lawn. I'm for getting paid. I'm for having an ability if this situation doesn't work out. I think transfers need to be limited, but I don't feel as in touch with college basketball as I was, and it kind of bothers me. And I think in terms of it bothering me, I think I know I watch less.
Well, I think I agree with you and I disagree with you. I disagree with you in a sense that you and I are the old guys on the lawn.
Oh,
let's get that clear.
Yeah.
Okay? We are the old guys on the lawn.
Okay.
I own it. Proud of it. You've earned the right to be the old guy on the lawn. Where I agree with you is everything else. Everything else you said. I get it. You don't have quite the same connection. You don't see him watch and grow and mature. and I get it. But I think that if your team is still doing well, you're going to keep watching. If your team isn't doing as well, you might not be as loyal to that team. You might not show up. So I would think that the teams are struggling. They might be affected by attendance. But look, the teams that are winning, you're coming and you're watching.
All right. I'm going to embrace my old guy on the lawn then. I'll thank you for the advice, and I'm going to do it right here, right now. I don't want to wax poetic, but I think college basketball coaches, we've said this for years, they have the best baseline stories. They have the best origin stories. And again, I'll wax poetic because I'm an old guy on the lawn, and that's what old guys on the lawn do. If I told you I could drop you back as a 30-year-old, and it's not about the money, it's just about going to practice as a 30-year-old in the environment that existed when you were 30, would you take that over this?
Yeah, I would. And if I knew then that this is what it would be, look, I can't complain. I'm going to be 66 in March. I had a great run. Okay, I'm clearly, I've been on the back nine for a while, and so I have nothing to complain about. I do worry about the guys in the future right now. Right now, I worry about them. Like, you're going to, in my opinion, you're going to see some of the best young coaches going to the NBA. I love the NBA. I've watched the game. Let me tell you something. I've got to work twice as hard as NBA coaches to get my guys shots because my guys can't do the things that those guys in the NBA can do. And so I love watching pro basketball. I love the transition. I love the spacing. But I'm telling you, it's not as hard to get a good shot. We've got to manufacture things. We've got to run fast break. We've got to run secondary. We've got to run continuity. We have to have breakdowns. And we've got to be able to manufacture shots because our guys can't. So I actually think that I would have gone to the NBA had I known that it would eventually have turned into this.
And by the way, it's a problem because I don't want to look into your pocket, but I'm assuming you're a millionaire, and people go, well, it's easy to say that stuff after you've become a millionaire. But there is not one guy, and I think this goes with baseball players. The minor leagues, you're trying to get out. I got to impress somebody. I got to get out. And part of it is I'd like to make more money. I don't want to eat, cheese sandwiches for the next 3 years down here in the minor leagues. But when you talk to guys later, 4-year careers, 8-year careers, 10-year careers in Major League Baseball, you know what they say the minor leagues was so much better than they knew it was when they were in the middle of it. It is a look-back moment where you start to realize, wow, there were things, the reasons I got into it, maybe for a coach, but there were things that I really maybe didn't enjoy to the level that I should have while I was living in the middle of it.
Yeah, no, listen, I understand that. I spent 14 years as an assistant. I walked on at Boston College and got cut and stayed on as a manager and did all kinds of different things. I was Division II for 9 years at Southern Indiana. I didn't get to Division I until I was 40 years old, 45 when I got my first big-time job at Tennessee. And so, yeah, I love the process. I love this country. I love the fact that, you work hard, you pay your dues, you win, you're successful, you're going to get recognized, you're going to get rewarded. You're going to get, put into these positions. So listen, you're right. I have nothing to complain about. At the same time, I personally walked away from millions of dollars. I walked away from a contract that would have paid me more money than I have in the bank, than I'm worth. Okay? We have enough. But part of it, honestly, was at 66 when I couldn't give it everything all day, just to basketball and recruiting and these kids. I said, you know what? I want to do a few other things. Like, I'm looking forward to calling games. I hope I'm good at it. I hope I do a great job in the studio. But it's not the same pressure. It's not the same having to live up to those different kinds of expectations. I know I'm going to work at it. I hope I'm good at it. But that's a big part of the reason why I didn't want to get to. Like, Bill Self has had 2 heart attacks. I'm rooting for Bill Self to have a great year this year. Because if Bill Self has a great year, then he's not walking away finishing 5th or 6th in the Big 12. And he's not. And I don't want this game to kill him. Because, coaches, we age in doggy years. I mean, you got to look at me. You got to look at me about 6 or 7 years ago. Flat belly, dark hair. I wasn't winning any beauty pageants. Look at me now. I'm the old guy on the lawn. Got gray hair, got a little bit of beard going.
But like you said, you've earned it. Bruce Pearl with us on the Loud Security Systems Newsmaker line. You mentioned the NBA. How close did it come to you going to the NBA?
Dallas gave me an opportunity after my days at Tennessee. Donnie Nelson, tremendous. Rick Carlisle, oh my God, tremendous. Those guys were wonderful. And I didn't go for a number of reasons. Part of it was I was a divorced dad living in Knoxville, Tennessee, and didn't want to leave my kids. I had a couple kids that were in school, and I would have had to move down there. They couldn't have moved with me, so that wasn't an option. And God bless that decision. Truly bless that decision. By staying home and being with my younger kids, I got a chance to get to Auburn and look at what's happened. Look at what's happened. I'm so grateful, so blessed, and to be down the road an hour and a half from Atlanta and get to go in the studio and work in the same building that Charles and Kenny and Shaq do, and work with the incredible people there, and then to call some games for CBS. Man, BP's got nothing to complain about, man.
All right.
Blessed.
So you had sabbatical, you had downtime, and we had you on, and you were very open and honest about it. I want you to think about this, because we did talk about it back then. Giving a kid a ride, giving a kid a hamburger or a hot dog, giving a kid whatever. We found out cream cheese, that was excessive. It can only be butter. When you think about that, because I know in the middle of it, I thought it was insane while it was going on. Now you can walk into Times Square with a kid, hand him a bag with $1 million in it, let the whole world see, videotape it for the rest of the world to see, and nothing matters anymore. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that we were living in ridiculousness of what you couldn't do.
Right. It was ridiculous. Couldn't put him in a car. It's raining outside. You couldn't stop Polo Road driving to practice because it was an extra benefit. I got fired at Tennessee, and part of the reason I got fired, I had some kids over the house for a barbecue. Now I could give them a barbecue restaurant if I owned one. It's just times have obviously changed. I will tell you this, and I don't know, this ought to be a research project for you guys. Okay, somebody should find out who the attorneys were that were representing the NCAA and representing the major conferences when they began to look at the N.O. Bannon case, and they began to really get an idea on the antitrust violations that was in your collegiate athletics. I do miss the old way of doing things. I really do. And in so many ways, it was a wonderful system. We were just really, really, really late to compensating the student athletes. And everybody was making money, coaches and universities and TV and everybody else. And we kept the same old tuition, room, board, books, and fees. We were late. Why? I mean, basically, the Supreme Court has said that if you want to give a kid $1 million in cash in a bag to be a quarterback, there's nothing in the Constitution says that there's anything illegal about that. Okay? But we had NCAA rules that said it was, and therefore people obviously lost their jobs, lost their eligibilities, so on and so forth. Two things got to fix it. One, either Congress got to get some rules to where we can go back to the old way, which is going to be very difficult to do this because the toothpaste is already out of the bottle, or I think there needs to be some collective bargaining. They need to understand that we need some collective bargaining so that we can get our arms around this. The number one rule change I would have, and where I'd fight the courts, was the transfer portal. We should be able to. If it wasn't free agency with non-competes and all the other stuff that we have right now in college athletics, the kids wouldn't be jumping ship quite so often. Right now, you can recruit anybody off of anybody else's team. If you ever made a phone call to a kid that was on the team, or a text message, or even worked through a runner, those were all violations that they should be, because these kids under contracts, even in Major League Sports, even if there's tampering or discussions between agents and owners, and if they can find out about them, you can get in some big trouble. We've lost all that. Get rid of this transfer portal, do a one-time transfer, maybe a grad transfer, and a lot of this stuff will settle down.
Do you have any notes from when you started, like back when paper and pen was a real thing, or like whiteboards? I don't even see enough whiteboards anymore. I'm a big fan of trying to do a whiteboard to give a kid a message. Do you have old papers, plays, and notes and practice notes that go back 25, 30, 35 years?
Yeah, 100%. I've got files and files. I got scouting reports on teams that I was coaching when I was coaching Wisconsin, Milwaukee. I'm an absolute paper guy. You must love Karl Rowe. You must love when he takes out the whiteboard. You must just get off.
I don't understand why coaches.
He still prints off stories, Coach.
Yeah, I got a bunch of papers in front of me. I love something in my hand.
I do. Wait. I'm getting ready. I got Florida and Arizona. I got BYU and Villanova. Monday Night Hall of Fame game. I got 30 pages of notes already. Print it out.
I'm not a believer in an iPad. I'm not a believer in Kindle. I really want something in my hand. Now, I do cheat. I listen to books now. I will admit that.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't want to read anymore. It feels like I want to be read too, like I'm a 3-year-old. So I'm sort of in that world. But the reason I ask about stuff like that, is it all still the same, like a 2-1-2 zone? Now, I know big guys shoot threes now, so I get how the game has evolved. But the principles of a 2-1-2, the principles of a 2-3, whatever it is you're going to run offensively, like nobody's reinvented any of this stuff. I know the game has changed. It's a positionless basketball game. But if you looked at your principles of running a 2-1-2, would they still be the same today?
Yeah, except nobody's running the 2-1-2 anymore. So, you can run a 2-2-1, you can run a 1-2-2, you can run a 1-3-1, you can run a 2-3, you can run a 3-2. The 2-1-2 is back in the day. That's probably gone. You know what? I'll kind of leave you on this one. And I'm a paper guy too. I have to admit, I bought an iPad yesterday. I bought one yesterday because I've got to have more information at my fingertips, and so I'm making that trip. I still write stuff down, but I do that. All right, here's what I'm going to leave you with. We can all coach defense. Every one of us can coach defense. We can teach the kids to play hard. We can stop stuff. We do. Billy Donovan said this, and he's right. The great coaches were the guys that had the great offensive minds. Those were the guys that were separate. If you got a great defensive coach, that's fine. You'll win some games, but you're not going to win. You're not going to win just championships. You got to be the guys that separate is the guys that know how to get a bucket and get spacing. And where the game has changed right now, because these men are so big, and because they do shoot the ball so very well, everything is 5 out. And so we've lost. I ran a lot of 4 out, 1 in. But in the league now, right now in the NBA, and even across college basketball, you've got to open up the lane. And the only way you can open, and especially the way they are refereeing verticality. If you take that ball into the basket and they're letting bigs get vertical and get big, that's no longer a high percentage shot, and there is no low post play hardly anymore unless you're posting up a mouse and you create a mismatch with a smaller player. So that's where the game has changed. 5 out, your great coaches are your best offensive coach.
All right, Coach, like you said, you're right down the road. Love to have you in studio when you come to town. Thanks for coming on.
You guys do a great job. Dick, Chris, thank you.